Welcome, everybody. So, this is the daily update that we've been starting to do this week. So, every day at 12 noon Pacific time, we're going to do just a 15-minute update of all the key events that happened today. Today's yet another doozy. It seems like every single day there's something that happens. So, on Thursdays, we have Mathias Fons joining us. You should be following him on Twitter at Fons, what is it, DK? Fons DK, yeah. And he has every single day, he's posting these tweets that has charts and graphs and analysis. He's just taken off like crazy in just the last 2 months that he started to join us. So let's get started. Hi, Matthias, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Great to be
Okay,
here.
good. So I think the very first big thing that happened today, and I saw it coming from you first, actually. I'm sure
Mhm.
others have done it, but I saw it from you. Elon Musk unfollowed KoGuan Leo. Is this true? And what do you think this means?
Yeah, so there's multiple things to this. So Elon used to follow KoGuan and he no longer did like maybe 4 hours ago or something like that. I think it has to do with KoGuan asking for buybacks multiple times after Elon said no did, and
Yeah.
perhaps KoGuan questioning whether the board of directors and Elon was listening to shareholders. And I'll just say that I think that Tesla as a company is actually pretty good at listening to shareholders. But I think that's probably what caused it. Maybe too much buyback stuff on Elon's timeline, and he just was fed up with it. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that's not good news, right? Because obviously Leo Koguan is a third largest
Hmm.
retailer shareholder. He's been communicating back and forth with Elon, and he would in last time he said noted and so forth. He's been getting good advice, and then for him to unfollow him because of a request for stock buyback, yeah, that does not seem possibly good. That he's why unfollow? It just seems like a big move. Is he getting upset? So here's some other one of his tweets that he did do. So I invested 3 billion in Tesla, more than Elon and Larry combined. Elon, after sharing his sales shares, is minus 35 billion. So Larry Ellison invested about a billion, and he plans to invest 2 billion to buy more shares. Now, one of the people, A Green, said he wasn't unfollowed because of the buyback comment. It was because he questioned the board, and he later retweeted A Green's tweet, which says, I don't know if you guys can read this. Of course not. It's a little small here, but basically it says, oops. Oh crap! Did I just lose it? I deleted it instead. Okay.
No
Uh,
worries.
but anyways, I think it's basically it was pretty harsh. It was like saying something like, that he spoke poorly about Elon. He's not doing his thing that he's supposed to be doing. I
Yeah,
can't
so I
believe I
think
pressed delete.
no worries. Yeah, no worries at
Yeah.
all. So I think that there's obviously a lot of frustration just in the general market. There's a lot of people that has lost money, obviously unrealized. The past year or so, the markets has just not been great. Elon is focusing on Twitter. People, are a bit upset that he's dividing his attention across multiple companies. I think that it's important to just keep in mind that you know Elon has done a lot of work for Tesla, and we wouldn't be here without him. But I think fair criticism, like criticism, is good, but at some point, uh, maybe it's a little steep.
Yeah, it is. Okay, I think I'm gonna be able to put it back. So I'm just working on doing that right now.
Mhm. Yeah, so I don't. I think there's KoGuan obviously cares a lot about shareholders. I think he said publicly that the reason why he wants this buyback is for the retail investors that are underwater. There's obviously a lot of people that has made tremendous returns, and in the end, there's no question about it that Tesla is going to do very, very well as long as they keep their eye on the price. And the price is not necessarily a buyback. It's uh, you know, producing a lot of cars, making sure that FSD and
Yeah,
Optimus and
yeah,
the
yeah.
roadmap plays out. So
I think this is the one, right? So A Green said, "Today I'm still invested in Tesla in spite of Elon. He's distracted, reckless, and lost touch with the care mission of Tesla." And of course, he retweeted that. So I think that, yeah, this is definitely I would definitely unfollow as well if I saw this. Okay, so let's see what's next. There we go. Okay, so this is the other opinions about the buyback, right? So this is Vincent. He says, here's a personal opinion from a business perspective. Despite having a huge free cash flow, he still thinks as a business, there's a huge, macro coming in 2023. Better be safe and sorry. And the reason I'm, he says, I agree with the buyback, but not necessarily needing to do this at the right time. And the reason that I put this up is because Elon actually liked this tweet, right? And so that's a signal that he's probably not going to do the buyback. He's agreeing that he's going to prepare himself for 2023 macro.
Yeah, I think that the buyback is inevitable, but the timing of it is very questionable. Yeah. And I would say that Elon in general is somebody that thinks in like great filters, which means that he's basically always making sure that the worst black swan event doesn't play out. And for Elon's mission, is to make life multiplanetary. And if Tesla goes bankrupt because they over leverage their balance sheet and a tough recession or something happens, that's a great filter. So it makes sense that Elon would be more safe than sorry. So yeah, I mean, the timing, it's up to them.
Then what, if that's the case, then why did you tweet this morning? And you're basically comparing Apple and Tesla. Tell me what you're writing here.
Yeah, so basically this is Carl Icahn, who's like a famous investor. He wrote a letter to Tim Cook in 2013, basically demanding a stock buyback at the time. Yep. And Tim Cook and Apple, they did that. And, that buyback has worked, and the prolonged buyback that they've done over this decade has, created a tremendous amount of value for shareholders. As you can see, like one thing when you do a buyback, obviously you want to look at, these shares, is there like a return on them? And the ones that they did in 2013, there was an 8x, 700%. But most importantly, you reduce the shares outstanding, and Apple has reduced it. I think it's around 40% since 2013, which is like a tremendous reason why Apple has done so well in the market. It's not necessarily because of their earnings growth, but actually because the shares outstanding reduces. Yeah, here's a graph for it. So you can see the shares outstanding has been reduced 40% since then. And just to say like why, I think that a share buyback makes sense. I don't have an opinion on the timing because nobody can really time that. But I think it's very important that shareholders also understand some of the fundamentals. So I'm not, putting up my hand and saying we need to do a buyback. I'm saying, hey, here's some data from a company that did it. It was very successful. Look at that, form your own opinion, tweet about it if you want to, educate yourself, and that's it. That's all I want to do. So
it's, people are thinking that a buyback's a one-time thing. Like once they do it now, is it going to do a bump or not a bump in the stock? But actually it's a forever thing, right? Because they're taking shares back. And when they do that, earnings per share now goes up over time, and because you have less shares, right? So that's why Apple has done so well, because they just removed so many shares off.
Yeah, and Tesla's going to have a lot of free cash flow. And, let's say that down the line, a year or two from now, they want to get into the mining business. They want to spend $5 billion. Potentially, they could do that with shares. So if they buy back shares at 200, let's say 200 per share, and 2 years from now, when they want to do vertical integration within mining, they could do that with shares. And let's say that conservatively, I'd say the shares are $300. That's a 50% return. And that means that they can acquire businesses for less cash because they made an investment in shares, which they use to acquire a business down the road. So yeah, I think it's a ripe opportunity in my opinion, but
all right,
it's up to the board and Elon.
Too much time talking about buybacks.
Okay.
But we needed to, because Leo KoGuan was unfollowed, and we got to figure out what it is. And he's very much pushing hard on the buybacks. So maybe that is the reason. But, just hopefully it's not a signal of the relationship with retail investors.
I don't think so. I don't think so. And I mean, if Elon blocked him or something like that, sure. But I think that Elon and KoGuan are still good, but I think Elon probably just got fed up with buyback.
Just the retailers were actually even just talking recently about asking him to be on the board of directors, but maybe not.
A lot of people have been asked to be on the board of directors lately. That's a different topic.
Okay, so let's get to the China numbers, which I know that it's been talked about also quite recently because it's reared its head again. So despite the fact that Tesla's numbers are looking really good in China, this is during a recession, a COVID, and all these things happening. And so this note from Gary Black said the Piper analyst put out this thing that said that, that all of China's automobile production has been hit hard. And then November, December have been the worst kind of down month to month reduction and so forth. So what's your thinking about this? And
Yeah, so October and November have been
Right.
back. So that's back-to-back months.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that I put out a tweet earlier today about Tesla's growth. We can look at this as well. So you see that Tesla Model Y, the wholesale passenger vehicle, it beat out the KoGuan Mini. And if you're not familiar with that, it's like a tiny, tiny EV, not in the price range of a Model Y at all. And as an exporter, Tesla was also number one. So Tesla just doing like tremendous. They have great numbers. Year over year, November, China domestic sales, where I think it was 96.9% or something like that for Tesla, while the overall passenger vehicle car market was down 9.2%, if I remember correctly. So this is just saying China is not doing great. Their economy, this is like, we all knew this, but isolated into the car market, they're not doing great domestically either. But Tesla is still doubling year over year, right? So I think that's signal in a wild, tumultuous macro.
Yeah.
Turbulent macro environment.
Is it fair to say that if Tesla in 2022 still hits just below 50% deliveries, right? In 2022, in a recession, inflation, COVID, war, supply chain issues, isn't that good news? Because people are worrying that 2023, well, what if there's a massive recession and what if this and that? But we already had something very similar in 2022 and they still hit the 50% reduction.
Yeah,
or do people think that it's going to be worse?
I think it's going to be a little worse than that, but I think that they would have gotten there if it wasn't for the COVID shutdowns in Shanghai. So it's going to be very close, like 46% or something like that. So, which is still tremendous considering macro. So,
okay. So what's in your mind right now? Just to wrap this up, last few days, what's been happening? There's been kind of this turmoil. The stock continues to fall. People are now freaking out, wanting buybacks. They're concerned about this potential rumor that came out of Elon. In fact, he's going to be probably the global auto production person because Tom Zhu is now in Austin. But any little thing that comes out, is this above normal, or is this just part of the course, or are people much more sensitive because the price is so low at this point, right?
Oh, yeah. So people are sensitive because of price action. If we were at $500, we would not have these discussions. So one thing I'd encourage the Tesla community would be to be like nice to each other and think about all of the great stuff that Tesla has accomplished. Think about the mission, which is, in my opinion, bigger than our wallets or our portfolios and stuff like this. And I'd also like to say that I think that the board of directors, we have some very competent people, especially with regards to capital allocation. Hero comes to mind. I know there's another guy, but his name escapes me. It's Ira. And they're great capital allocators. So I think that a buyback will happen eventually, and just, have some faith in Elon. I know that things are pretty rough right now, but the Tesla team are killing it. They're killing it without Elon's 100% focus because he's split on multiple ventures. We just have to live with that. And I'd say look at the bright side, in my opinion.
Before we leave the China discussion, in your opinion, are you seeing any signs of a potential demand reduction in China for Tesla?
Yeah, so what I can say is that Xi Jinping was at a Politburo meeting, which is basically just the top of the CCP that meets. And what he wanted was like monetary policy would be targeted and forceful. He wanted efforts to expand domestic demand, optimize epidemic prevention methods, attract and utilize foreign capital. So what we're hearing from the top of the CCP is that they want to bolster their economy. They want to focus on this. That's their internal goals. So, I mean, I think that's the only data point that is very relevant in all of this. And I'd say that they do their best. They have dug a deep hole, in my opinion, but I think that their interests are aligned with getting China out of this recession. And
Yeah.
I mean, Tesla can just drop prices if
Right. I think it's already official too that they've made the announcements about COVID restriction. They're not going to be as tough. And and certainly February is going to be Chinese New Year, and they're not going to be able to force the population to stay indoors and so forth. And then what's the likelihood that when China's Shanghai, if there is a slowdown in China demand for Tesla's cars, because there's certainly a slowdown in China demand for automobiles in general, but if there is, what about the exports, right? Because you showed a chart with the exports just skyrocketing, right?
Yeah. So one thing to consider is that Thailand just opened up for imports, which they would come for a Giga Shanghai, maybe 20,000 a year, something like that, which is kind of small, but it's still something. Also, there's rumors that the incentives out of China would actually be prolonged. December is usually a great month for domestic vehicle sales in China. So I think it's very important that if the subsidies are prolonged, that's going to be a great sign for demand. But Tesla will sell every single car they produce. It's just a matter of either exporting, pulling demand levers such as pricing incentives. So I'm not too concerned, in my opinion.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mathias. Appreciate you. You'll be joining me every Thursday. You need to get better lights for me next week.
All right.
But your data and information is powerful, and I appreciate this quick update to everybody. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks.